Coffee.
Uh-oh. I'll be recorded. You have to speak.
I have to speak in here. Is it working? Okay.
For those of you that just got in here, my name's Steve Romano. I'm going to be teaching your class today. We've got Embrace Mortgage and Dockside Title. They're the ones that brought you guys breakfast, so give them a little round of applause for that. They're also going to be doing a little infomercial, telling you guys a little bit about themselves. But do me a favor for today. Take the iPhones, turn them off or on vibrate, and the iPads down. I know you all are busy. But if you have to take a call, make a call, check your Facebook, just step outside and do that. I don't have any problem with that. We're going to break on every hour for at least 10 minutes or so. So we'll get through today. It's not going to be too painful. So I'm going to turn it over to Liz Ann and then Sophia from Dockside.
Good morning. I'm Liz Ann Livingston with Embrace Home Loans, and we're located on Vieira and Morel Boulevard. So we do obviously all the conventional loans, the FHA, VA loans, but we also have first-time home buyer programs, which are bond money or money that's set aside by the state that helps first-time home buyers. And a first-time home buyer is actually somebody who hasn't owned a home in the last 3 years, but helps with down payment and it helps with closing costs. I know interest rates are kind of high right now and people are saying, well, you know, but I keep telling people it's a good time to buy because in a couple of years, the interest rates will be down. And maybe even next year, hopefully they're saying maybe in the 4s, but we'll be able to refinance everybody at that point in time. So they'll have a little more equity in their house. And that's what's going on, you know, with everything is still, the values are still, you know, pretty much staying, they go up a little bit, but right now they're staying the same, you know, so they'll have enough equity in their house that they'll be able to refinance and things like that in a couple of years. So it's a good time to buy, even though interest rates are high. And if you need any help, we're like I said, we're located on Vieira and Morel Boulevard, but we answer our phones 24 hours a day, pretty much 7 days a week, just like you all do. So I'd be happy to help with you if you have any questions or anything like that. And I'm going to be sending out an email to everybody so that you all have my name and address and everything. So thank you. Have a great day.
Is this too loud? No. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Sophia Chambers. I am one of the owners of Dockside Title. We are located in Merritt Island, but we can close anywhere, just so you guys know that. We have been in business about 4 years now, and through that time, we have been able to become Brevard's #1 rated title company. If you go on Google, you can see all the 5-star reviews we have. We really just try to cater to all of our clients, and our clients are mostly you guys as realtors. So we've all been everybody that works there has been in the business for several years now. And we know what it takes to have like a very smooth closing. And we know that some closings can go, you know, not so smooth. So we're there around the clock 24/7 to cater to you guys. We do also have, there's a whole table outside of all of our things that we have. I put hats, shirts, pens out there, but more importantly, we do have our own title app. So you can go in there and run net sheets for your sellers and stuff like that. There is an option where you can run for cash purchases as well, but it's a lot more for the sellers. Additionally, one of the lead closer there, her name is Ashlyn. I'm going to send all you guys this information just so you guys have it handy. She is available, like I said, 24/7 around the clock, which is very different from a lot of the title companies out there. They operate more on like a 9-to-5 type thing. And we know that you guys are always working around the clock. So we're doing the same thing. We can also cater anything you may need for a listing, anything like that. I can bring in food for you guys. I can bring in the setup that I have outside is very like small scale, excuse me, of what we have available to you guys. Every closing, we give out a closing gift. Stuff like that. We have t-shirts, hats, keychains, koozies, everything to make that closing experience more than just like a piece of paper signing at a table, which a lot of people, I feel like that's what, you know, you go to a closing office and it's just, you come in, you sign papers and you leave. But we really try to make that experience a lot more special than just signing some papers, because that's a very big purchase for a lot of people. And, you know, a lot of people only buy a house a couple times in their lifetime. So we try to make it as special as possible. So yeah, all my contact information is outside on the table. If you guys need anything, I'm available anytime, even on the weekends, morning, noon, night. That's just kind of like how we like to be available for everybody. So if you guys need anything, let me know.
Thank you, guys. All right. Everybody signed in, right? That's important. For you stragglers that came in a little bit late, they have breakfast brought on by Dockside Title and Embrace Mortgage. So feel free to help yourself there. For those of you that came in late, please make sure you have your iPad or your iPhones on vibrate or silent and iPads down. I have a very fragile personality. If I look out there and see on your phone, I could literally break down and start crying. My name is Steve Romano. I've had my real estate license since 1981. Anybody in here have their license before 1981? 1981 was a very good year for realtors, wasn't it? Yeah, Cape View Elementary in Cape Canaveral had a program. You could get your license in the 5th grade. I took full advantage of it, full advantage of it. There you go. So anyway, how long have you had your license, Robin? 1987, okay. Anyway, code of ethics. What we're gonna do is we're going to take this class pretty close to 12 o'clock and we will break every hour. When you break, if you got to smoke them, it's back here on the outside area. There's 2 restrooms right behind here. And also, when you become a member of this association today, this building is your building. So when you get off on break, go take a look at it. Introduce yourself to the staff. That's your staff, your MLS director's back there, your professional standards liaison, your CEO of the company. They're all back there. There's a store too. If you need open house signs or books or anything like that, help yourself to the store. Anyway, code of ethics, our promise of professionalism. And here we go with our first glitch. There we go. Our course objectives for today. We're going to identify key aspirational concepts in the preamble to the National Association of the Realtor Code of Ethics. We're going to describe general business ethics and compare and contrast them with the Realtor Code of Ethics. We're going to describe concepts established in Articles 1, 2, 12, and 17 and possible violations of them. We're going to describe the professional standards process for enforcing the Code of Ethics, including the duty to arbitrate. We're going to identify critical elements of due process as they relate to code enforcement, and we're going to identify factors considered by hearing panels in procuring cause disputes. The thing that's really cool about this business is, and first of all, how many are brand new agents? First-time real estate agents? Awesome. How many let their license lapse, decided to get back in the business after the crash? I always got a couple of those. And then, of course, we've got a longtime member here also. Yes, ma'am? A builder developer. Okay. All right. Great. Great. What's really cool about this business, and first of all, you brand new agents, congratulations on passing that test. Give yourself a round of applause. Tough test. How many passed it the first time? Couple of liars in there. Couple of liars in there. Sure. All right. I believe you. I believe you. I had a girl that worked for me one time. She failed it like 7 times. She failed it so many times that they gave her own parking space at the real estate school. Okay. The cool thing about this business, though, is not only have you guys passed this tough test, you all have some cojones too, because you just signed up to get into a business where you are not guaranteed one dime. So that takes some guts. So welcome to the club. Unfortunately, this class starts off with an icebreaker test. So turn to page 2, I think, in your pamphlet that looks like this. And you'll have a statement there. Everybody there? What page is it on? Is it on 2? It's on 2. All right, everybody get there. We're going to get through this today. And what you do is you read that statement, and then you go to your code of ethics. Robin, hold that one up. And you find out which article best describes that statement on page 2. Got it. You got it. You got it. You got it. Now, when you're finished with the icebreaker test, this is what your answer sheet will look like. All right. So let's get through the icebreaker. Everybody there? Who's having problems? Page 2, there it is. No? Icebreaker, right there. And then here's your articles. You're welcome. Anybody else having trouble? Right here. Right there. You got it? Having problems? There's that. Might be on the back of this. Yeah. There you go. Page 2. Anybody else having problems? Yeah, you got it. There it is. Right there. You're good. Page 2. Icebreaker. Dream maker. Love taker. There it is, right there. Now I'm going to get you through this today, this icebreaker. And everybody's going to make an A today. I'm going to help you through this stuff. You also have an evaluation sheet in there where you evaluate the speakers. Just hit the excellent on mine. Excellent. I get paid by the excellent marks. So every once in a while, I'll check my clicker just to make sure it's working. Does it work from the side? Yes, it does. Why are you looking down? How's everybody in the Zoom room? Muted, I think.
Steve, it's Megan Espy here. I didn't get a Zoom pamphlet attached to my email.
Megan Espy, why aren't you here in class today?
My son has COVID. I didn't want to share the germs.
Good reason. Kate should be on with you here in a second.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Behind the back. Yes, ma'am. Right there.
Right.
And then
But how do we, you know?
right here, there's your articles. Okay, grab that paper right there. Okay, and here's what we're gonna do. On number 1, write 15. On number 2, write 13. And number 3, write 14. All right, you got the first 3 right. On me. I can't help you any more than that.
I just put the class materials in the chat.
Thank you. From above. I'm like the worst substitute teacher you'd ever have. If I could go in the back and take a nap and put a movie on, I'd do it. I don't mind if you help each other, look on each other's papers. Let's get through this icebreaker. Always have to just keep making sure my clicker works. If I don't change, yeah, it is. I'll try it from the back room here. Let me check her from back here. from the far corner. Yep, sure does. I'm being recorded today for the first time. There was rumors that this class was a little, I can't say it, I'm on tape. Is anybody here from FREC or the National Association of Realtors? You have to identify yourself. All right, let's finish that icebreaker. How many people made 100? Passed it the first time, the real estate test and the icebreaker. All right. Before we get into the history of code of ethics, what I'm going to kind of explain to yourself, what's really cool about this business is that you meet great people and you have the opportunity to make a lot of money, and it's a fun business. It's a great organization. But what's really cool about it is tonight around 6 o'clock, I'll be in a poker game. And in that poker game, there'll be 2 other brokers from 2 other companies. I don't consider them my enemy. I consider them my allies. We're going through the same things. We're trying to put deals together. So I don't consider my fellow agents out there the enemy. We're competitors. Now, the other really cool thing about it is we also police ourselves. And that's really the process I'm going to explain here today. No good class wouldn't be a good class if you didn't have the history pre-1900, no licensing of real estate practice, speculation, exploitation, and disorder was what kind of went on. The guy that had the bigger gun got the better deal. Caveat emptor governed the transactions. Everybody knows what caveat emptor means? Let the buyer beware. Now, the young lady in the back there will tell you that caveat emptor actually governed transactions around 1990. In the late 80s, when I was about 3 years in the business, I would put people in my car and go and show them. My market was the condo market in Cocoa Beach and Cape Canaveral. I started off in property management, so I ended up selling the landlords' places for them when they wanted to sell, or tenants that would come down here, snowbirds that would want to buy. So that was sort of my clientele. But when I would put people in my car and go and take them and show them like 10 or 12 condos, and then they narrow it down to about 4, and we go back and look at those. Then they narrow it down to 2, and we go back and look at those 2 or 3 times. And then they figured out which one they wanted to go buy, and we'd go look at that one about 7 times, and the rec room and the garage and everything and all that. And we go back to the office, and I would go to my microfiche, and I would see what the guy paid. I'd see what his neighbors paid, what the guy above him paid, what the guy below him paid. And I'd do this market analysis for the buyers to come up with a good offer to present to the listing agent. And when it came time to write up the offer, and I do mean write up the offer, I don't mean DocuSign or type it in, I mean write up the offer and the necessary documents that went with it, there was this one form that I'd have to put in front of the buyer that I absolutely hated. And it said that all agents in the transaction represented the seller. And I would go back and argue with the ladies in my mom's office. It's crazy. I've had these people in my car for 4 or 5 days. I know their kids. I probably bought them lunch. And yet I'm supposed to represent a seller I may not even know. It's just not a fair process. Finally, they got it right at the National Association level and the Florida Association level. And they brought in different types of agencies. Dual agency, transaction brokerage, buyer representation. I think a perfect real estate deal is when a seller lists with an agent and the property's on the market for a reasonable period of time and a buyer comes along represented by a buyer's agent. I think that's a good transaction. So pre-1990, caveat emptor governed transactions. The National Association of Realtors was formed in 1908. It was known then as the National Association of Real Estate Exchanges. The Code of Ethics, adopted in 1913, established professional standards for conduct, first ethical code for business after medicine, engineering, and law, focused on service to the public, and a commitment to professionalism, included duties to clients and duties to other brokers. The Code of Ethics was the basis for later adopted license laws. And since its inception, the code has required arbitration of contractual disputes among realtors, respect for other brokers, exclusive relationships with clients, and cooperation amongst us. We're already at part 2. What time is it? Moving fast. 4 o'clock. That was a good one. Let's go. We got business ethics. We got industry codes that come down from the National Association, the Florida Association, and the Space Coast Association. We have rules here too. You got company policies. How many people are here with Coldwell Banker? No Coldwell Banker. Oh, a couple Coldwell Bankers. There you go. Any Century 21s? Century 21s here, sure. Franchises. How many are with an independent company? A Blue Marlin or maybe even an EXP is really kind of considered independent. When you signed your independent contractors agreement, you probably had to sign a document where you read the company policy manual. So some companies have different types of policies. You got individual moral values. Some are higher than others. And then you got business ethics and legal standards. We all share one common characteristic. We'll work 1 million hours a week for nothing. No, regardless of real estate business such as appraisal, property management, all realtors are bound by the Code of Ethics. The same realtors in South Dakota are bound to the same Code of Ethics we are in Florida. It's a national thing. We got the preamble to the Code of Ethics. Under all's land, the golden rule, whatever ye would that others should do to you, do ye even so to them. I'm not so sure about that slide. Alleged violations of the preamble may not be the basis for disciplining a realtor. And we've got 3 sections to the Code of Ethics: duties to clients and customers. And the reason why that first one doesn't say duties to clients or just duties to customers is there is a difference. Those people that I put in my car back in the 80s and went and showed them condos, they were free on the very next day to jump in another real estate agent's car and go look at condos. They were just customers. Clients are who sign a contract with you, a listing agreement, a buyer brokerage agreement, a property management agreement. Those are clients. Duties to the public, and then duties to other realtors. And we're going to go through those. And let me see. Your book is different than mine because I have all the answers. Turn to page. Turn to page 10 in your hymn book. And we'll sing along. Everybody there? Now, normally we would go around the horn and I'd let you read these, but since we have people in the Zoom room and we're in this weird era that we're in, I got to read them all. Okay, number 1, follow the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Not so sure about that one. Respond promptly to inquiries and requests for information. You know, back in my early days when I was dealing in the condo market in Cocoa Beach and Cape Canaveral, the average age of my customers was deceased. These people, though, are these kids that are out looking at properties now from SpaceX and Blue Origin. If they text you because they're interested in a property, if you don't respond back to them in 4.5 seconds, they might be looking for another realtor. So promptly to inquiries and requests for information. Schedule appointments and showings as far in advance as possible. There's a few glips in this class, and I think that's one too. As far in advance as possible, if you're going to show one of my listings, you know, around November 22nd at 4 o'clock, it's a little too early to book that appointment. I have what's called reasonable notice. I deal a lot with bartenders and bellmen out in Cocoa Beach. They're the ones that meet the people. And I'll get a lot of people that'll have a problem and they'll call me. And they're friends of a friend of mine, and they'll say, you know, Steve, Joe said to call you that you might be able to help me. I have a landlord that just shows up at my property and wants to do an inspection without any notice, a walkthrough. Is that right? Is that fair? No, it's not fair. It's not right. But what's in your lease agreement? If your lease agreement allows him to do that, unfortunately, You signed a document that allows them to do it. But if there's nothing in there, reasonable notice to do that is 24 to 48 hours. If I'm going to show property this Saturday, let's say to people from Orlando that are going to come over and look at a condo, I'm booking my appointments probably today, this afternoon, or Friday, 24 to 48 hours out in advance. Call if you're delayed or must cancel an appointment or showing. Nothing ticks off a seller or a listing agent more if you've got an appointment to show that property and you don't show it and don't even call. If a prospective buyer decides not to view an occupied home, promptly explain the situation to the listing broker or the occupant. You just deliver the news. That's what we really are. Just deliver the news, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. Communicate with all parties in a timely fashion. When entering a property, ensure that unexpected situations such as pets are handled appropriately. Leave your business card if not prohibited by local rules. Our local rules suggest that you leave a business card when you show a property, but I remember a few years ago, I was showing a condo to a broker from Miami, and when I left my card on the counter, she asked me what I was doing. Well, normally we just leave our cards when we show a property. She said, well, in Miami, that's a violation. They consider that soliciting a seller. So down there, that's what their rules are. Different associations have different rules. Never criticize property in the presence of the occupant. No brainer. Inform occupants that you're leaving after showings. A lot of times, especially in the heat of summer, if somebody tells me they're going to go take a walk around the block while I show the property, I'll ask them if they want me to text them or call them when I'm done so they can come back. When showing an occupied home, always ring the doorbell or knock and announce yourself loudly before entering. Knock and announce yourself loudly before entering any closed room. You know, Robin's about the only guy I could tell this story to about a situation that happened to me in my younger years. And I can tell you I knocked loudly. I swear I did. I swear I did. Present a professional appearance at all times, dress appropriately, and drive a clean car. If occupants are home during showings, ask their permission before using the telephone or the bathroom. I see some of you younger agents out there. There was a time where homes had telephones in them. We got to update some of this material, including mine. Encourage the clients of other brokers to direct questions to their agent or representative. Communicate clearly. Don't use jargon or slang that may not be readily understood. Be aware of and respect cultural differences. Man, you young kids got it easy today selling real estate. This Google stuff. If you're showing somebody from another country property, and the night before you Google their country and find out some things about it that you didn't know, not only are you going to learn things, but you're going to have something to converse with them the next day. The last thing you want with a customer is that elevator silence or while you're driving. You want to have a wrap with them. Show courtesy and respect to everyone. I don't know why that's so hard. Be aware of and meet all deadlines. I think one of the biggest problems with actually agents that have been in the business for a long time is they've been doing it so long, they just assume the public knows how the game's played. And the public doesn't know how the game's played. That's why they're with you. That's why they're hiring you. And real estate is a deadline business. If you write up a contract and you're saying that your buyer is going to apply for a loan within 5 days, that means apply for the loan in 5 days. That doesn't mean fishing around the internet to keep looking for a better rate. That means find somebody and apply. If you got a 10-day inspection period and the seller cuts it down or the listing agent cuts it to 7 and you're having a hard time getting an inspector in there, get that extended. It's a deadline business. Promise only what you can deliver and keep your promises. Identify your realtor and your professional status in contacts with the public. From now on, if you're in the grocery line or you're at a cocktail party or some sort of a social gathering and something comes up about real estate, before you can engage in conversation about real estate or about a piece of property, you need to identify yourself. You got to have your 7-second presentation. It's important. Hey, I'm Steve Romano with ABC Realty, not the liquor store. You're right, that property you're talking about is a good deal. Are you currently working with a realtor? No, we're not. Then I'm your guy. You got to have that down. Do not tell people what you think. Tell them what you know. Sounds good. Okay, any questions on respect for the public? We got to respect the public. The public doesn't have to respect us, but we got to respect them. Any questions on that? No questions, a stupid question unless it's asked 3 times. All right, no questions. Any questions in the Zoom room? No questions in the Zoom room. Okay, we got to respect property too. Be responsible for everyone you allow to enter listed property. Never allow buyers to enter listed property unaccompanied. I had a buyer, somebody looking for a condo the other day to rent, and they live right down the street from it. And they said, hey, it's on a combo box. You don't have to come all the way down here. Why don't you just give it to me? Can't do that. It's an automatic $500 fine. Can't do that. Now, in the doom and gloom days of 2008, 2009, 2010, when we had short sales and foreclosures, everything was on a combo box, and realtors were so frustrated with the banks and everything that was going on. They were just giving people the combo number and say, hey, go take a look at that property. If you think you like it, we might see if we can't get it through the bank. Can't do that anymore. When showing property, keep all members of the group together. It's hard to do, but you got to do it. Never allow unaccompanied access to the property without permission. 4 sounds a lot like 2. 5, enter property only with permission, even if you have a lockbox key or a combination. If you guys are out showing property on a Friday and you go show people 6 or 7 homes, and on Saturday, they want to go back and look at that one home that's vacant on a lockbox, you still need to call the listing agent and let them know you're going back. You still need to. If you go into a property through the lockbox without permission and they turn you in, it's an automatic $500 fine. First time. Where am I at? What number? 6. When the occupant is absent, leave the properties you found it. Lights, heating, cooling, drapes. If you think something is amiss, contact the listing broker immediately. Boy, I remember this one years ago. There was a time where I had a Coldwell Banker franchise. I had 6 offices, almost 100 agents working for me. And I remember this one agent coming to me. She said, man, this seller ripped me a new one. She goes, Steve, they had their home so prepped for a showing. When I walked in, all the lights were on, all the drapes were open. There was soft music on the stereo. There were baked cookies on the oven. It was unbelievable. The problem was after she got done showing, she turned all the lights out. She closed the drapes, put the cookies in the oven, and turned the music off. There was a showing 1 hour after her. So leave property as you find it unless the listing agent tells you otherwise. Be considerate of the seller's property. Do not allow anyone to eat, drink, smoke, dispose of trash, use the bathing or the sleeping facilities, or bring pets. Leave the house as you found it unless instructed otherwise. Let me tell you one about them sleeping facilities. Your mind's out of the gutter. It's not like that. These people looked at a house we had years and years ago. Market was a buyer's market, a lot of homes for sale. Space program wasn't going so well. And they looked at this house. We had the listing. We actually had the buyers too. And they wanted to spend the night in the house before they made an offer. Now, there are a lot of real estate agents that say, what are you, absolutely crazy? No. But remember, we don't own the house. We're just the messenger. That's up to the seller. So we asked the seller, and the seller came back and said, well, what should we do? I said, well, how about take a $500 deposit and go have a staycation at the Hilton on the beach and let them spend the night. We want to sell the house. See, there was a little different circumstance, though. The house was on the golf course. The people wanted to spend the night to see how loud the mowers were in the morning and how loud the golfers were coming by. That was the reason for it. We let them spend the night. They still own the house out in Country Club. So remember, I get this all the time. This one always bothers me. I write up an offer and I send it to the listing agent, and the listing agent calls me and said, hey, I got your offer. There's no way my seller's going to take that. And I'm like, well, I'm looking at the tax records right here. I don't see your name anywhere. That's up to your seller. You know, when I write your seller an offer, your seller has 3 options. Accept it, reject it, counter it. And if they counter it, my buyer has the same 3 things on the counter. My buyer can accept the counter, they can reject the counter, or they can counter the counter. And we're just the messenger. When a buyer wants to buy and a seller wants to sell, get out of the way, make it happen. Any questions on any of that? Man, you are one smart class. Pass that real estate test the first time, cruise right through the icebreaker, no questions. All right. Use the sidewalks if the weather's bad. Take your flip-flops off before you go inside the property. Okay, anything for respect for property? Yes, ma'am. Sure does, doesn't there? There's service turtles and service, I mean, there's service everything now, right? Yeah, unfortunately, you have to respect that. Now, they should have their little cover on, you know, their little service animal thing. Yes, any other questions? Oh, you know what? When we have a question, I have to repeat it in the Zoom room.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to repeat it.
What? The question from the floor was, what about service animals? Unfortunately, in this day and age, you have to respect them. Another question? Yeah, the question from the floor was, and also I'll just correct you, the listing agreement is with the broker, the brokerage. It's not with the listing agent, with the brokerage, you know that. Can you put in an offer? Yeah, I listed a condo in Sandcastles years ago. And I remember my client I'd handled his account for years. We played golf together. A lot of times my clients end up being my friends. My friends don't always end up being my clients, but my friend, you know, it goes the other way around. And he said, Steve, I'm ready to sell the condo. He goes, where do you think it'll sell at? I said, you know, it's under 150. I would say 139.9 would do it. He said, I'll tell you what, list it for 140, try it out, list it for 140, but I'm not taking a penny less than that. And I said, well, rather than writing up offers lower than that, we'll put in the listing agreement to not present any offers lower than 140. Is that what you want? And he said, yes. And so we did. We put it in the listing and we put it in the remarks. So seller's not asking you to do anything unethical. He's just telling you he didn't take any offers less than that, and you don't even have to present them. And you don't. It's in writing. Any other questions? Good questions. Okay, respect for peers. We got to respect each other. Ben Franklin said, if we don't hang together, be rest assured we'll be hung separately. Identify your realtors and professional status and all contacts with other realtors. Man, I'll tell you, I love the state of Florida. I think it's just the best. And because as realtors, a lot of times we can't take real long vacations. So I'm the king of the short vacation. I love just jumping in the car and going an hour and a half this way or an hour and a half that way and seeing all these little quirky towns in Florida or beachside towns. And I always go into a real estate office, a franchise of mine, I'm with RE/MAX now, a franchise that I'm involved with, and I'll go meet somebody. And when I walk in there, I identify myself. And we'll talk a little bit about that market. And I'll pick up some real estate magazines and I'll exchange cards and possibly get a referral from that person or me send them a referral. Because I'll tell you what happens a lot of times in the state of Florida, especially in the winter, people don't know where they want to buy. They're debating between the West Coast and the East Coast. Well, the East Coast is better. We have an ocean. You got a Gulf over there. It looks the same every day. We have nicer beaches here. Maybe, I don't know, but that's what I tell them. And I also say in Cocoa Beach, we're 2.5 to 3 hours from all 3 football stadiums. I don't care if you're a football fan or not, but what's nice about being here is if you want to just jump in the car and go to a short play like St. Augustine, an hour and a half away, how good do we have it there? That sort of stuff. But anyway, when you do meet somebody that's a real estate, that is another real estate agent, you have to identify yourself. Respond to other agents' calls, faxes, and emails promptly or courteously. You brand new whippersnappers, there was this machine called the fax machine. They wheeled it into my mom's office in like the late 80s, early 90s, and the ladies freaked out because you could stick a paper in it and it would go somewhere else. There's no way. They didn't trust it. We're still going to do overnight. We're doing overnight still. But that was the old fax machine, and now it's gone. Everything's scan and send, DocuSign. Be aware large electronic files with attachments or lengthy faxes may be a burden on the recipient. Notify the listing broker if there appears to be inaccurate information on the listing. We've got a police button that'll notify Rob if there's a problem on a listing. But the best thing for you to do is just pick up the phone and call that your fellow agent. Hey, Joe, man, I'm trying to sell these people a 4-bedroom house. I was over at your listing that you've got as a 4-bedroom. Man, we spent an hour looking for that 4th bedroom. We can't find it. You sure that thing doesn't have 3 bedrooms in it? Anyway. Share important information about a property, including the presence of pets, security systems, and whether the sellers will be present during the showing. Man, you know, when you get the listing, putting up with your seller and paying for the sign and your marketing and the things you do, you know, that's hard work and all that. It takes being a professional to get the listing. But man, that buyer's agent is out there hauling people around to different houses, dealing with the lockbox on the side sprinkler head. I mean, they're out there working. Anything you can make it easier for them, make the showing process easier, try to do it. Show courtesy, trust, and respect to other real estate professionals. Don't know why that's so hard. Avoid the inappropriate use of endearments or other, how do you say that word? Denigrating language. Do not prospect at other realtors' open houses or similar events. Now, you wouldn't think I'd have to put that one in there. But a couple years ago, I was having a broker's open house. And when I have a broker's open house, mine are popular. Robin likes to come to them because I give a free lunch. I don't go buy party trays and waters and wines and have 4 people show up at my open house, have to drag that stuff back to the office and have to clean up the house. I just give away a free lunch at Pineapple Point or Pig and Whistle or the establishments that I go to. Helps their business, and it's real easy for me. And so I was having this open house one time on the water a few years back, and I had a nice attendance there, and it cost me a few lunches. And this couple walked in, and they said, "Hey, we saw your open house sign out there. We're not brokers or anything. Would it be okay if we looked at the house?" Well, of course. Come on in. I'm Steve Romano with Remax Aerospace. I said, your name? They told me your name. Are you currently working with a realtor? Yeah, we're working with Robin Turner from Happy House. Oh, you're in great hands with Robin. He's a good agent. I'll touch base with him if you like the house and let him know. I said, okay, great. So they're looking around. They went in the backyard. And when we were having this conversation about Robin, this other broker was standing right there. And he left. Or she left. I can't use names. So the people went in the back. And when they went in the back, I could see them pointing and, oh my God, and they're all taking pictures. And I'm like, head out there. It's School of Dolphin. I said, you know, I've got this app on my phone that I can get these dolphins to come to any house I've got listed on the water. It really helps sell them. And I don't have to pay them a referral fee, just a couple figure mullet. So we're kind of laughing about that. In the meantime, this other broker comes out and says, hey, I couldn't help but notice on your car that you got the University of Michigan license plate on the front. And the guy said, yeah, I graduated from University of Michigan in 1984. Broker said, oh yeah, I graduated in 1981. He goes, I offer a rebate back on my commissions if you buy a house for me from University of Michigan graduates. And I'm standing there thinking, what in the hell? I said, Joe. Now, I use Joe and Mary. Anybody here named Joe? Any Marys? I'm not talking about you. Mary, I'm not talking about you. Anyway, I said, did you not hear them say they were working with Robin Turner from Happy House? And by the way, this is my open house. You can't prospect at other brokers' open houses. What you do is you park your car down at the end of the street, and when they come out, pull out in front of them, then give them your car. No, you don't do that either. Come on. Guys, see if you guys are staying awake. Return keys promptly. There was a time you used to actually pick up keys from other real estate offices. Carefully replace the keys in the lockbox after showing. I love when I go out and show a condo in Cocoa Beach and I get the front door key and the lobby key, which is all I need, but I also got the mailbox key, the garage key, the key to their home in Rhode Island, and some other key. I don't know what it works on. Geez, just give me the keys that get me into the property. Real estate is to be successful in the business, mutual respect is essential. Real estate is a reputation business. What you do today may affect your reputation in business for years to come. Any questions on any of that? Everybody still awake? Good. All right. Let's take a break. It's 9:45. So let's get back here at 9:55. Smoke them if you got them back here. Restrooms over there. Your store and your staff are in the back. Please go back there and introduce yourself. It's a great group of people that work here. And we'll see you back here at 9:55. Don't be late. All right, all right, all right. Let's get through part 2. Okay, the structure of the Code of Ethics. Each section is comprised of articles which are broad statements of ethical principles. Only articles of the code may be violated, not a standard of practice. The standard of practice supports, interprets, and amplify each article, may not be charged with, but may be cited in support of an alleged violation. Fact situations for which each article and or standard of practice of the code are applied, you may not be charged with, but may be cited in support of an alleged violation. How the Code of Ethics evolves. The amendments are made during the mid-year meetings and Realtors Conference and Expo. Sat in on a few of those, slept through most of them. Revisions require approval by NAR Professional Standards Committee and Board of Directors. Interpretations and Procedures Subcommittee of the Professional Standards Committee recommend many of the changes. Important stuff. Any change to the article code must be approved by the NAR delegate body. So it's a very serious thing they take pride in doing, and that is looking and evolving the Code of Ethics. The Code of Ethics must be reasonably construed with the law. You can be in violation of the Code of Ethics, but not necessarily break a law. Impose duties above and in addition to duties imposed by law or regulation, or state certain fundamental legal principles. And there's our 3 sections. We already got through that. Pathways to professionalism. Oh, we're already at part 3. Running good, running good. Every association is responsible for enforcing the code. The Space Coast Association of Realtors could not be a member of the Florida Association of Realtors or the National Association of Realtors if they didn't enforce the Code of Ethics. This includes providing mediation and conducting ethics and arbitration hearings. Bless you. There's 2 types of hearings that we have over here. And there's the ethics hearing, which somebody may have done something that doesn't involve a commission. And then there's the arbitration hearing when you got 2 brokers fighting over the money. And those are usually the big ones. Only realtors and realtor associates are subject to the code. How they enforce it: an association where someone holds membership or gains MLS access has jurisdiction to process ethics complaints and arbitration requests filed against that individual. Associations do not determine violations of law and regulation. Okay, here's how we do the different disputes over here. And when I used to get to this slide right here about 3 years ago when I taught this class, we had this thing called, the informal had the ombudsman. And I didn't know what the ombudsman was, so I would just kind of wing it, make something up. I thought it was the guy that brought the beer to the social events. But we have an ombudsman now. I'm going to explain that. We also have a mediations and informal one. Our formal ones are when we hear an ethics complaint and an arbitration request. Now our ombudsman program, which we have, only available if offered by the local association. 3 years ago, we didn't offer it. Now we offer it. It's a voluntary process. Ombudsman may field and respond to inquiries and complaints, solicit responses, and meet with disputing parties. Disputants reserve the right to file a formal ethics complaint. Meaning if you don't want to go through a hearing, but you felt like this other agent did something wrong, you can call over here, talk to an ombudsman, and the ombudsman will call them. We get that a lot with if the buyer's agent doesn't think the listing agent presented their contract. The ombudsman functions, our primary role is communication and conciliation, not adjudication, does not determine an ethics violation, anticipates, identifies, helps resolve misunderstandings or disagreements before disputes or unethical conduct charges arise. I was actually an ombudsman in 2003. The first committee I joined, and in this afternoon, when you come back after lunch, 2 martini minimum. I was an ombudsman when I was on the grievance committee, and then I went from grievance committee to grievance chairman of the grievance committee, and then I went from there to professional standards, and I went from professional standards to professional standards chairman. I've been on the board of realtors. I've been president of the association. I'm also president of the Can't Say No Club. But anyway, I was an ombudsman in 2003 and didn't even know it. We were meeting over at the grievance committee. We meet the 3rd Wednesday of every month. And we had this fax come in through the fax machine, the magical fax machine. And this agent had a copy of the Sunday paper. And back then, before the internet, The Sunday newspaper, the real estate section was about that thick. That's how everybody marketed their homes. And they had this one page that would have, it was like the I Love Me page, where the realtors would put their cards and their little marketing. And we had this one agent, God bless her, Peppermint Patty from Titusville. Peppermint Patty had her hat on and her little dog and her card. And Peppermint Patty, at the bottom of her card, it had over $1 trillion sold. And for some reason, that rubbed this other agent wrong. Every Sunday, she'd see this ad. And finally, she made a copy of it, sent it to the association and wrote, "You need to stop this. She's in violation of Article 16-2. She's not being truthful in her advertising." So I'm thinking, do we really have to have an ethics hearing over this? Why don't I just pick up the phone and call Patty and see if we can't put a cease to it? So I called up Patty. I said, "Hey, Patty, this is Steve Romano." She goes, "Oh, hey, Steve, how you doing?" "Well, I'm not calling you to show one of your properties or anything. I'm calling you as grievance committee chairman. And somebody sent a fax copy of your Sunday ad where you're putting on your card over $1 trillion sold. And Patty, I just went through the MLS and you're a little short of $1 trillion. A little short, all right? So what can we do?" I mean, she goes, "Steve, I've, as professional standards chairman, I've seen cases where the person that did something wrong didn't know what they did was wrong. They just had a lapse in common sense, bad training, just had no idea. And I've seen them break down, cry, swear they'll never be here again. They've never done anything wrong in their past. They're so embarrassed. I've seen that. A lot of times people just didn't know they did something wrong. And that was the case here. Patty didn't think she was doing anything wrong. She just thought it was funny, but it did rub this agent the other wrong way. So she took it out of her ad. So I was an ombudsman before I even knew what an ombudsman was. Ombudsman can help repair breakdowns in communication and develop acceptable resolutions amongst disputing parties. Any question on ombudsman? We got him here, so if you have an issue, no problem in call it. Voluntary process unless the association at its discretion requires its realtors members to mediate per Article 17. We voted on this at the board of director level and we voted it down. And I'm glad we voted it down because I felt like if a broker feels like they're the procuring cause of the sale and they don't want to mediate, they want to go straight to arbitration, they can do that. It's enabling bylaw provisions found in Article 7 of the NAR model bylaws for local member boards must be adopted to mandate mediation. We don't mandate it, but we offer it to everybody. The disputing parties meet with a mediator appointed by the association. Parties create a mutually acceptable resolution of the dispute rather than go before an arbitration hearing panel. It's the preferred dispute resolution tool by the realtor organization. It must be available to all realtors, meaning we don't pick and choose who should go to mediation. We offer it to everyone. May offer before or after grievance committee's review. If offered before, must offer again after grievance committee determines matter is arbitratable and forwards on to a hearing. If a resolution's reached, parties sign an agreement which outlines the terms of the settlement and no arbitration hearings held. Now, there was many a time when I moved up to professional standards chairman and two brokers would be fighting over a large sum of money, $25,000, $28,000 they're fighting over. And I would sit up there and think to myself, man, why didn't these two guys or two girls or a guy and a girl, why didn't they just go up to Coconuts, have a margarita, look at the ocean and work this thing out on a napkin? Because even though Joe is the procuring cause, Mary deserves something. Why didn't they work this thing out? And that's what you kind of do in mediation. So it outlines the terms of the settlement, no arbitration hearings held. The difference between mediation and arbitration. Mediation is low cost. Mediation is exactly what they pay me to teach this class. You get what you pay for, folks, you get what you pay for. Arbitration is a moderate cost. I believe it's like $400, and if you win, you could get it back. Mediation's a little delay, meaning these two brokers are going to fight over money, and they agree to mediate. We set up a meeting, and we mediate. But if they go to arbitration, remember, Grievance hears the case the third Wednesday of the month. If the act happened on the third Thursday, grievance isn't hearing it for 30 days. And then if they send it up to professional standards, that could take maybe another 30 days. So there is a moderate delay. Mediation has a maximum range of solutions. Arbitration is win, lose, or split, and split is rare because generally someone is the procuring cause, and we're going to get to that. Mediation, the parties control the outcome. I've been a mediator over here too. Like I said, President Can't Say No Club. The parties control the outcome a little more. If I got broker Joe and broker Mary fighting over this commission, I might send Joe out of the room and talk to Mary for a little bit. And then I might bring Joe back in and send Mary out of the room and talk to Joe for a little bit. And hell, I might send them both out of the room and talk to myself for a little bit, all right? But the parties have a little more control. Where at a hearing, the arbitrators control the outcome. Mediation, uncertain closure; arbitration, definite closure. Mediation maintains, improves relationships. Remember, you got in that room with the mediator and you struck a deal. Hands were shook and an agreement was made. Where arbitration, we send Joe and Mary out of the room and then we discuss and decide who the procuring cause of the sale is. Any questions on that? What a smart group of people. What a smart group of people. Who can file an ethics complaint? Anybody that's a member of the association, but not the public. I mean, the public can file an ethics complaint. We can't file them against the public. If we can file them against the public, we've been hearings all day over here. Grievance committee and the ethics. Okay, is there a potential violation of the code of ethics? What happens is, let's say that agent, well, let's just keep them as brokers. We got broker Joe files a complaint against broker Mary. It's an ethics complaint. What happens is when it's sent to professional standards, the professional standards chairman, the association will, Joe will file a complaint against Mary. Mary may not even know that the complaint's been filed unless Joe told her on the phone, hey, Mary, I'm filing an ethics complaint against you. The complaint goes to the grievance committee. The grievance committee meets, and what will happen is the chairman of the grievance committee will make sure that anybody that's in Joe's office or anybody that's in Mary's office will not see the case. They're dismissed from hearing it. And if the chairman's in either one of their offices, he'll get the co-chair to listen to it, co-chair being from a different office. They'll look at Joe's complaint and they'll determine, and Joe's complaint can have copies and emails and that sort of stuff. And they'll look at it and they'll determine that what Joe has put on that paper is 110% the truth. And if they feel like Mary could have possibly violated the code of ethics, they'll send it up to professional standards. The association will then send Mary a copy of Joe's complaint. And they'll also send to both parties a list of the people who are on professional standards that could possibly hear the case. If Joe sees his third ex-wife on there, he may strike her. And then if there's anybody that's on professional standards that feels like they can't make an unbiased decision, they have to excuse themselves too. And these are people that have gone through grievance and professional standards class and done case studies, which we're going to do a little bit later. It's not like we just picked 3 realtors out of their offices. Hey, Robin, we got a case this afternoon. Why don't you come over and hear it? No, these people have been through the classes. And what happens is when the professional standards hearing starts, I'm the chairman and I read my document from the National Association as to how the hearing is going to take place. And I do the same thing like I started in here. All right, we're going to keep this professional. iPhones down, vibrate off, iPads down. What's going to happen here is Joe is going to, and we're going to keep this professional. Keyword being professional. We're not going to point fingers. We're not going to raise our voice. We're not going to call each other names. We're going to keep this thing professional. So Joe's going to give his opening statement uninterrupted from Mary or us. And when Joe's finished with his statement, presented his witnesses, presented any evidence, Mary can then ask questions. And when Mary's finished with her questions, we can then ask questions to Joe. When we're finished, Mary makes her opening statement, uninterrupted. And then Joe can ask any questions. And then when Joe's finished, the panel can then ask Mary questions. And then when we're finished, Joe can give his final statement. And when he's done, Mary gives her final statement. And then we excuse them. Following the hearing, the panel decides whether the code of ethics has been violated, proven through clear, strong, and convincing evidence from Joe. If a code violation is found, then the panel also determines the discipline. Now, before we discipline, let's just say for the sake of argument that Mary violated the code of ethics. She violated the code of ethics. But before we discipline Mary, there's always somebody from the association staff that's here during the hearing. We have a professional standards liaison, but if for some reason she's not here, the AE or somebody else will be here to give us a copy of Mary's file to see if Mary has violated the code of ethics previously. Let's say that Mary did something like Peppermint Patty did. She apologized for wasting our time over here today. She was totally embarrassed because she's been a member of this association for 18 years and she's never had a complaint against her. She's embarrassed to be here. It'll never happen again. I had no idea what I was doing from wrong. I'm so sorry. Maybe a few tears, a hug here or there. She didn't do something that bad. What we're probably going to do is just give her a letter of warning. It'll go in her file, 6 months, 1 year, maybe. A letter of reprimand. Now, let's say Mary just put on a Meryl Streep type performance, but a couple of months ago, she did something wrong and was over here again. There was a complaint against her. She might have to come back and take education. You got to go listen to that Romano guy for a couple hours. See, it's starting to get like waterboarding, the penalties. Fine, not to exceed $15,000. When I was professional standards chairman for about 4 years, I think the biggest fine we had was about $2,500, but now it's up to 15. And I don't know if you were on the board, we had one of those appealed. Yeah, this guy could not get it through his thick skull that you're not supposed to call withdrawn listings, especially when the seller tells you to quit calling. He wouldn't stop. And the problem was this guy that wanted him to quit calling him was dying of cancer and wanted to just die in his own house with his family around him, and the broker wouldn't stop calling him. Then we found out that he was thrown out of another association for the same thing, $15,000, and we did not reduce it. Probation of 1 year or less. Suspension of not less than 30 days, nor more than 1 year. Expulsion from the membership for 1 to 3 years. Fortunately, we've had a few of those. Suspension or termination of MLS privileges. Go into a house without permission on the lockbox, $500 fine. Do it again. It's $1,000 and your MLS turned off for 30 days. If I had my MLS turned off for 30 days, I'd be taking a 30-day vacation. I can't live without my MLS. It's the first thing I do in the morning. I check the hot sheet every morning. It's the first thing I do. So I can contact my buyers, my sellers, and my past clients. Everybody knows where the hot sheet is on your MLS? Get to know that thing. Rob's going to speak later, your MLS director, and he's going to recommend how many have been to the Flex Basic class. Get to the Flex Basic class, then get to the intermediate one, then get to the expert one. Know your Flex. It's a great program. The primary emphasis of discipline is to educate. It's to create a heightened awareness and appreciation for the code of ethics. We're not in the fine business. We didn't build this building on fines. We didn't do that. We did it by membership. Violate arbitration request. Arbitration is conducted under Article 17 of the Code of Ethics and under a state's arbitration statute. If any, Article 17 provides that arbitration occurs under the following circumstances. It's a contractual or specific non-contractual dispute as defined by Standard of Practice 17-4, and it's between realtors principals, which are the brokers. Now, the agents are the ones out there doing the deals, unless you're a broker owner like Robin is. but it's the agents that are doing the deals. So a lot of times a broker, when a commission check comes in and a HUD check, he's just happy to get it so he can pay some bills. He may have no idea that there was a problem in this contract, that there may be an arbitration hearing because this other agent or other brokerage felt like they were the procuring cause. So when it comes time to arbitration, it's the brokers that have to be here with the agents to fight over that money. It arises out of the relationships as realtors. Grievance committee. Is there an arbitratable issue? It's a money dispute typically concerning which realtor is entitled to the cooperative commission in a transaction. It's done the same way. Joe feels like, broker Joe feels like broker Mary, we're going to keep them as brokers to keep it simple. Broker Joe feels like broker Mary stole his client, customer, and sold them a property that he showed them. He feels like he was the procuring cause. So he files a complaint with the association and they send it to grievance. Now, in my opinion, if grievance committee gets an arbitration, I think they only have two jobs to do. Make sure that the member, maybe three, make sure that both members are a member of the association, make sure the act happened or was found out about within 180 days. And then if that's the case, because you're only hearing one side of the story, send it up to professional standards. Let them have their day to fight over that money. Because money's what we're in the business for, right? You guys didn't sign up to come listen to me, did you? Did you? Thank you. Oh, that's why you got a front row seat. All right. We didn't sign up to haul people around in our cars, not to sell them anything. We're in here to sell real estate and make some money. So the arbitration hearing conducts a full due process hearing, done the same way, the exact same way. Compromise from members of an association professional standards committee, meaning I'm the professional standards chairman. I've been on the professional standards committee for years to get to this point. And before that, I was grievance committee chairman. And before that, I was on the grievance committee. So it's just, like I said, it's not just people who are just picked out of our $5,000 people membership to just come and listen to this, because this is important. After the hearing, and the hearing is done the same exact way. Joe can strike anybody he wants from hearing it. Mary has the same right, and then the panel, if they can't make an unbiased decision, they have to excuse themselves. And then Joe makes his presentation uninterrupted, presents his witnesses if he has them, provides his evidence, and Joe could even maybe have brought a lawyer. Now, if Joe brings a lawyer, Mary also has the right to bring her lawyer if she wants to bring one. But the association makes sure we have our lawyer to protect us, because our lawyer has to remind their lawyer that they're not in court that day. They're at a hearing, okay? So let's de-lawyer it a little bit, all right? Okay? It's a professional standards hearing. Okay, so after the hearing, and again, done the same way, Joe, opening statement, witnesses, evidence, copies of contracts, copies of text, whatever he has. When he's finished, Mary, question, panel, question. Then Mary presents her case, her witnesses, her evidence. Joe gets to question. When he's done, we question. Joe, final statement as to why he's the procuring cause. Mary, final statement while she's the procuring cause. And then we send them out of the room. And we decide who the procuring cause of that sale is. And if we decide that there's going to be a payment of the arbitration award to either party, an unpaid award typically may be judicially enforced. Some associations require that award monies be deposited with the association pending review of the hearing process or during a legal challenge. And we got concepts in procuring cause and arbitration. What time is it? Oh, okay, we're good. Found in the Code of Ethics and Arbitrational Manual, guides hearing panels in resolving the arbitral issues. It focuses primarily on the procuring cause as the basis for resolving most commission disputes. Procuring cause, there's no predeterminers. Considers the entire course of events. Writing an offer, making the first showing, or an agency relationship, and of themselves do not necessarily determine procuring cause or entitlement. I remember the ladies in my mom's office would go, Steve, you showed those folks that condominium and they bought it through broker Bob? You're the procuring cause. No, not necessarily. I remember one manager we had in our office said that if you write the offer, despite somebody else showing it, you're the procuring cause. Not necessarily. They're not any predeterminers. Before I look at the definitions of procuring cause, anybody out there like to define procuring cause? There was a spell of about 2 years where nobody tried to define procuring cause. You know why? It's not black, it's not white, it is gray. It is 52 shades of gray. All right? Here is Black Law Dictionary, the 5th edition. The proximate cause, the cause originating a series of events which without break in their continuity result in the accomplishment of the prime object. That's Black Law's definition. Pretty good definition. I got a better one, but it's not this one. Anybody in here from Arkansas? Teaching this class for 4 years, never met anybody from Arkansas. Are there people in that state? The Arkansas Supreme Court, it's the squirrel that shakes the branch and not the squirrel that gathers the nut. You believe the Arkansas Supreme Court sat around and came up with that one? Here's the best one. Years ago, I want to say 2001, I had this agent, we'll call her Mary. And Mary was like, this girl could sell real estate. She dressed to the nines. She had a nice car. She wasn't the sharpest girl. I mean, it took her an hour and a half to watch 60 Minutes, but she could sell real estate. She could sell real estate. And it seems like everybody she talked to or everybody she met either bought or sold through her. She just had with this bubbly personality, and everything she stepped into was gold. So Mary got this listing on the water, on the open water in Cocoa Beach, 1,000 Islands behind it. Nice house. Back then, they priced it to sell. It was $459,000. I remember the price like it was yesterday. And Mary did all the right things. She made sure that they had cards in case somebody came and knocked on their door. You know, she had the sign up, started doing the marketing. And the very first Saturday of the listing, these people drove up and knocked on the door and wanted to see the house. And the people said, well, look, if you want to see the house, you got to make an appointment with our agent, Mary. Here's her card. They went out to their car and they called Mary to make an appointment. Mary happened to be in a boat behind the house, not directly behind the house, but just maybe a canal or two over. So Mary comes over in the boat, throws a cover over her bathing suit, meets the people, asks them if they're working with a realtor. They say no, goes to the front door and said, I think these people would be qualified to buy your house. Do you want to show it to them or do you want me to schedule an appointment later? They wanted to sell the house. They were transferred from Boeing out to Seattle, back to Seattle. So they really wanted to sell. People came through the house, liked it, loved it, and went back to their place. They were renting, I think, a condo in Titusville, I believe, and they wanted to make an offer. Mary met them halfway somewhere with the signed offer. They signed it. Mary took it to the house. Sellers countered. Buyers accepted. Mary, her listing, her sale, more shoes, more purses. Mary's rolling. Monday comes around, and Mary comes into my office with a doom and gloom look and says, we got a problem. I had a call from broker Bob from down south, and he says that he's been working with these people and he has an agreement with them and he's going to be taking over the buyer's part of the sale. And I said, well, it doesn't work that way, Mary. She goes, I don't want any problems. These people are really nice. We got a deal. I go, Mary, you're talking about my money and your money, and I'm not giving up my money. I said, so why don't you go back to broker Bob and say, look, if you want to take over the sale, you can do that. You can schedule the inspection. You can make sure my I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Is that how it is? Okay. and see it through to closing, and we'll pay you a 25% referral on the buyer's side of the transaction. Not a bad deal. A couple $1,000 for a house you didn't show and a contract you didn't write. Not a bad deal. He rejected it. That afternoon, we got a cancellation, still in the inspection period. Sellers were disappointed because they thought they had the house sold. 3 days later, we get another offer. Same buyers, same house, same price, same terms. Seller was livid. They said, we're not selling to them for anything. The hell with those people. I said, no, listen, you guys, bring them into the office. Brought them in the conference room, and I went in and I said, look, folks, you guys have been transferred to Seattle. We got a contract here, an acceptable contract, the price you want. Let me tell you how we're going to do this. We're going to act like everything is peaches and cream. And we're going to see it through to closing. And the minute that money hits your account, I'm going to notify broker Bob that we're on our way to arbitration. And we went to arbitration. And we went to arbitration. At that time, we had 2 associations. Broker Bob was down from the other association in Melbourne. We were up at Space Coast. I had no problem listening to it in Melbourne because I felt like we were the procuring cause. Mary was nervous as hell. She didn't know if we were going to win or not. And we presented our case. Our case was simple. We had everything. We had a copy of the contract. I mean, we had everything. We had statements from the seller. But I remember this guy on the panel, this old country boy that I met later, and we helped merge these 2 associations together, really smart guy. And I remember him saying at the hearing, the definition of procuring cause is when you meet somebody and you ask them if they're working with a realtor and they say no, and you say, can I be your guy or your gal? And I'll leave no stone unturned finding you property. You're laying the foundation of your house. And when you start sending them listings and showing them properties, you're putting the walls up. And then when you write a contract for them and get it accepted, you put the roof on your house. And then when you see it through to closing, you finish your house. Nothing should break that up. Once he made that statement, I knew we won. So that broker ended up with nothing instead of referral fee on the buyer side. Any questions on that? Remember, no question is a stupid question asked 3 times. What time are we at? 10:30. All right, we're running fast here, and I'm being recorded today. Any questions in the Zoom room? Probably should turn the recording off during the breaks. Did we do something we shouldn't have done on the break? Yeah. Okay, so we have no questions? Okay, well, the next thing we're going to do is case studies. And I usually come back in the afternoon and do 30 minutes on your first 30 days. So I'm going to cram that into this. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to take another break. It's 10:30. Let's make it back here at 10:40 and we'll do case studies. Super fun, really exciting stuff. All right. All right, all right, all right. iPhones down, iPads down. This is it's serious stuff. Case studies. Now you're actually like you're on the professional standards committee and you're listening to these cases. So turn to your first case study. I'm not sure what page it is on yours, but it starts off with client A went from his hotel to Realtor B's office. Page 19, thank you very much. Page 19 of your hymn book. Take some time, read it. When you're done with it, just shoot your hand up so I kind of have an idea when people are finished. Okay, we'll do this gladiator style. This means the realtor gets to live. He's innocent. This means he's done. Okay, so let me get your show of hands on this case. Is this guy innocent or is he guilty? Don't look at Robbins. Okay, let me give you a hint. When you're in case studies, they're always guilty. Nobody's innocent in a case study. All right. The hearing panel pointed out that brokers have no hesitation advising clients that properties are overpriced. When this is the case, they are obligated to be equally candid in providing that their best judgment to clients when properties being offered for sale are obviously underpriced. The panel concluded that in view of the wide discrepancy between the owner's asking price and the owner's market value, which Realtor B conceded and was apparent to him, it was Realtor B's obligation as an agent to advise this client that the house was worth considerably more, especially when it was apparent that client A had been away from the community for years and was out of touch with local values. The hearing panel found Realtor B in violation of Article 1. Robin, don't you answer this one, but what could this guy have done worse than what he already did? Buy it himself. If I was Judge Dredd on that hearing panel and he bought that house himself and I could impose any penalty I could other than death, I would have his real estate license torn up and he could not practice anywhere else in the United States of America. That's how bad I take that. I mean, that's how serious I take that. Now, pricing, man, I'll tell you, when you're new, I know pricing sometimes can be tough. But in my opinion, when a broker walks into a house and says, this house is worth $250,000, I think they're crazy because I believe there's a range. When I go into a property to take a listing or I'm up against maybe other agents, I give them three prices. I give them the pack your bags and move price, which is going to be aggressive. I give them the market price of where it should sell within a reasonable period of time with a few showings. And then, of course, I give them the hopeful price where we shouldn't go above that number. That's the hopeful price. So those are the three prices I give them. Years ago, I went on a listing. This was the late 90s. This will tell you how prices were back then. I got a call from this lady, and when she said her name, man, I knew her name from somewhere. And when I went to the house, She was a little Italian lady. She called me because I was Italian. She thought, we would, take care of each other. And when she told me the story is why she wanted to sell, I remembered the name. I saw her husband in the obituary. He went up on the roof to clean the gutter out, and he fell off the roof, and the fall put him in the hospital, and he eventually passed from it. She didn't want to live in the house another minute, and she wanted it sold yesterday. Now, this house, if I was going to price it under normal circumstances, I would have said, keep it under 600 and we'll get this thing sold. Between 575, 580 in that range. She told me that I was crazy. And I said, well, you're right, but I'd like to at least think I know how to price houses. What are you thinking? She goes, I just want 400,000 in my pocket and you can take whatever you want. And I said, well, I don't work that way. I said, look, I'm telling you, if we price this house at 599, we're going to get showings. But if we take it to 550, which I'm going to net you over $500,000, we're going to get it sold. He said, Steve, I don't want to spend another night in this house. She goes, I want out. What would you price it to get me 400,000? I said, well, probably around 429.9, 434.9, somewhere in that range. But do you have any kids? She said, yes, I got a son in California and a daughter somewhere else. I said, do me a favor. Talk to them tonight. Tell them what I told you. And I'll come back tomorrow in the morning. We're going to caravan tomorrow. I'll come back in the morning. And if you still, after talking to your kids, want to price it there, I will, but I'm going to be really reluctant to do that because we're going to have people lined up around the place to buy it. So the next morning, she said she talked to her kids and she said, I'll tell you what, go ahead and price it to net me $500,000. And if it doesn't sell in 10 days, we're going to drop the price. I said, okay, no problem. We put it on for $549.9. We ordered the sign. Before the sign got up, our office, back in those days, we caravan properties. The office went to look at the house. We had 2 offers in the first hour, one at full price and one $10,000 over cash. She was ecstatic. Got her moved to Pensacola. She was going to be up near her sister in an assisted living or a senior community. And when she got up there, she ran into an ex-real estate agent. And the ex-real estate agent, when she told her the story about this wonderful little Italian guy in Cocoa Beach who sold her house in 1 hour and netted me $500,000, this expert real estate agent told her, he underpriced your house. You should sue him. Well, she wasn't going to sue me, right? Well, this real estate agent took it upon herself to call her son and convince her son that I had given away some of their inheritance. And the son contacted a lawyer. Was that one of the kids? The son contacted a lawyer in Orlando, and he called me and said that he'd contact a lawyer and that they were going to sue me. And I said, look, I said, so you're obviously coming to Orlando? He said, yes. And I said, he goes, I got to do some business in that area. I said, well, you know what? Take a 45-minute drive over to Cocoa Beach and let's you and I sit down and chat. He agreed to that. He came over. We went in the conference room. I showed him my file, my market analysis, where it said 600. I told him the story about I wouldn't even take the listing the night before. I said, let's call your mom. So we called his mom on the speakerphone and talked to her. And his mom ripped him a new one for being in there. He goes, he could have bought the house himself. Get your ass back to California and stay out of my business. And I mean, so here's the moral of that story. Keep your files, keep your evidence of what you've done. But when you're pricing homes, if somebody does something like that and you take that listing at 429.9 without telling him what it's worth, I still could have taken the listing at 429.9 if I wanted. I wasn't doing anything unethical. But my job, when somebody hires me to list their property, my job is to get them the highest price possible, the best terms and conditions, and protect them in the contract and see it through to a good closing. That's my job. That's my job. Now, on the other hand, I had another guy who I sold a house to years and years ago. And it was a 2-story house. It was down on the corner of 10th Street, upstairs, downstairs. The one hurricane that all the spaghetti models were showing it hit Cocoa Beach. Every time we have a hurricane season, it always freaks a few of the older people out and they go ahead and move inland. And I would say hurricanes are good for our business sometimes. So anyway, these guys called me and they said, Steve, we want to move inland. We're tired of going up and down the stairs. Home's too big for us. We're ready to move. We'd like something over near Lake Poinsett. So we went over there. We looked at houses over there. They found one they liked. They didn't need to sell that one to buy this one. They went ahead and bought it. And they were going to list a 2-story. They said, we need to declutter it. We're going to have a garage sale, an estate sale, sell a lot of stuff in here, clean it up, get it ready to go. And then when we move over to Poinsett, we'll put it on the market. Fine. Called me a month later. Now remember, these people bought this house from me and they had just worked with me on the house they found that they were in love with. They called me up when they were ready to sell about 2-3 weeks later. I went over there, had my market analysis and my paperwork. And when I sat down, I said, George, his name was George. And I said, George, if you don't want to own 2 houses, do you? For a long time. No, I want to get it sold. I said, okay, then price it under 500. Put it at 499.5 and we'll probably sell it 475 to 480. He said, you're crazy. And I said, yeah, but I'd like to know that I could price houses. What are you thinking? He said 700. And I'm like, I can't put my name on that for 700. People think I'm crazier than I am. But I'll tell you what we'll do, George, since you've been a loyal client, let's put it on for $699. And when nobody looks at it for 30 days and we don't have any offers, this was a few years back, we got to lower the price. He says, I don't think we'll have to lower it. It's a beautiful home and all this, not on the water, but right on A1A. But anyway, of course, no showings, no offers. And eventually, I think we dropped it to 689.9, big price drop, still nothing happening. I had a partner at the time, did an open house. The open house was supposed to be 1 to 4. She left at 3:45. He showed up at 3:50. Called me on the phone, screaming at me, yelling at me. And I'm like, George, find another broker. But I'm telling you right now, if you drop that price on your house to where I told you it's going to sell for, I have a flamethrower. I'll be over at Lake Poinsett next day. I joke with my people like that. I could be friends with them. But anyway, he did. He listed it with another broker. And of course, he kept it at 675, 680, and it didn't sell. And finally, after the time was up with that broker, I got a call from him. And he said, Steve, he goes, I just met with Nick Farinella from Coldwell Banker, who apparently you guys have known each other for a long time. Yeah, I've known him since 5th grade. He said that you were right on about your price. And we're going to go ahead and price it at $499, but we're going to pay you, or Nick's going to pay you a referral fee on it. I said, that's fine. Fair enough. Nick's a good guy. You're priced right now. It'll sell, no hard feelings, George. And it sold for $475, $480. Now, I'm not telling you the moral of the story is I know how to price houses. The moral of the story is if I went in and got that listing and I said, okay, you want 700 and don't tell him what it's worth, and my sign goes up and he starts getting frustrated and he runs into a real estate attorney, and that real estate attorney has a friend that's real estate, and that guy, and he calls that guy and says, why isn't my house selling? And the agent says, I don't know why. I can tell you why it's not selling. I don't know what Romano's thinking pricing that house at 700. It's 300. It's almost $300,000 overpriced, at least 250. That's a violation of the code of ethics. It goes both ways. So pricing's an art. Learn how to do that. Any questions on that? No questions? You have to do what you're told by your customer, but you must advise them. You must advise them. The lady that called me and said, I want out of here, just put 400 in my pocket, price it at 429.9. I can take the listing at that, but I must advise her what it's worth. That's the difference. That's the difference. Any questions on that? No questions. Yes. That's the question from the floor was, would you suggest an appraisal? That's one way of doing it. Good point from the floor. Yeah, you can do that. I know some brokers agents that get inspections done before any contract, so they know what they're going to be up against with buyer's agents. There's no surprises after the contract. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. But I like to think, honestly, are there any appraisers in here? You're an appraiser in the back. I don't mean any disrespect to appraisers because that's a tough job. But I can tell you right now, if the property's in my area of specialties, which is Port to Patrick, I feel like I can price it better than an appraiser only because I've been in those previous sales. I've been doing it for 40 years. I know what's out there on the market. Now, their job's tough, because they got to come within that range. It's a tough job. But if you know your market, you can be just as good as an appraiser pricing property. The difference is they get $400, we get nothing, or 50. Huh? You're what? Oh, in Virginia? Okay. Oh, it's hot. Yep. But the realtors that know those market, know those prices, because a lot of times we had an appraiser on the floor. A lot of times, a good appraiser is going to pick up the phone and call realtors. I have a lot of appraisers that will call me. Hey, Steve, I can't get this number on this. What am I missing? Well, you're comparing a lakefront condo to a riverfront condo. You got to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. All right, next case study. Realtor B, a sales associate in Realtor A's office, exclusively listed a suburban house. Read that one. We'll get through it. Hey, Megan. The Zoom room. Just give me a show of the hand when you're done with it. All righty. Realtor B. See it. Death to Realtor B. Death to Realtor B. Death for this head. The panel found that Realtor B should have made his relationship to the buyer, his mother, unmistakably clear to the seller. He should have disclosed in writing that the buyer was his mother so that there would have been no misunderstanding. The hearing panel found that Realtor B in violation of Article 4. The hearing panel noted that realtors are not presumed to be in violation of the Code of Ethics in cases where realtors associated with them are found in violation. Rather, culpability, if any, must be determined from the facts and circumstances of the case in question. It was the conclusion of the hearing panel that Realtor A had made reasonable efforts to ensure that Realtor B was familiar with the code and its obligations, and that would have been unreasonable to expect Realtor A to have known the purchaser was Realtor B's mother. Consequently, Realtor A was found not to have violated Article 4 because he didn't know. A lot of times the brokers don't know what's going on out there in agent world. But I had something happen a few years. Of course, I've had something happen. I've been doing this since 1981, right? I've seen everything. I've had doors slammed in my face, phones hung up on me, dog bite me, fell in a pool. That was all last month. Not an easy business, folks. Not an easy business. Right, Strad. Yeah. Stuff like that happens. It happens. I really did fall in a pool. I listed this house on the water on Capri Road. Nice older couple, same sort of thing. They were scaling down, going to a senior community, and really nice people. Priced it at the market price, not giving it away, but at the market price. They priced it right. And I stuck my little stick sign in so the post guy can come in later. I never waste a second on a listing. If I get the listing, stick sign in right out of the trunk in the front yard. As I'm driving out of the house and I shoot up the Capri Road on the canal, but not on the open water, my college roommate who ended up working at NASA, and I had sold him his house, he was mowing his lawn. So I slowed down and I said, hey, I just want to let you know, I listed a house down here on the open water if you know anybody who wants to buy it. He said, you know what? We'd like to move to the open water. Let me get Mel. We'd like to take a look at it. So now I'm in a quandary. I just listed the house. It hasn't even gone into MLS. So I haven't given my fellow brokers a chance to bring their buyers. And I've got somebody that wants to see it who's my college roommate, was my college roommate. I turned right back around. I went to the sellers and I told them the story, being honest with them and up front. And I said, if you have a problem with me showing him the house and being the transaction broker, like I told you, I completely understand that. And I'll recommend another realtor to represent you. And they said, no, Steve, we'll trust you. You know, show them the house. I showed them the house and they liked it and we struck a deal. Now, if I didn't go and disclose that to them and I had it listed, let's say at 525 and they settled at 485 and then found out later, because I'll tell you something about real estate, the body always surfaces. The body always surfaces. May not happen tomorrow, may not happen next week, but if they found out that I turned around and sold that home within a half hour to my college roommate, could have been a problem. Could have filed an ethics complaint. And who knows, they may have found me guilty, but I did go back and disclose it to them. So just those things do pop up. Any question? Oh, we have two questions. Okay, go ahead, Robin. First question. You're good? Go ahead. Back in the back. $180 days. The question is, how long? Yeah, you can't take this class if you're an experienced agent and say, oh my God, Mary violated the code of ethics 3 years ago. I'm filing a complaint against her. 180 days. 180 days. Good question. So talking to that person, at what point do you need to tell that person you are a realtor? Well, first of all, you got to tell them. The question from the floor is, if you want to buy the house yourself and you know they want to sell, at what point do you tell them that you're the realtor? Well, you tell them right away. You have to tell them right away, number one. But number two, if somebody calls you to sell their house, you really shouldn't buy the house, even if it's something you want to buy. We had a policy in our company that if somebody hired, because again, your job is to get them the highest price possible, best terms and condition, and a closing date that's suitable. You don't know what the highest price possible is if you don't expose it to the market. So before you could buy a property in our company, you had to put it on the market and expose it for 30 days. That was our policy. And if you broke it, you could be a $10 million producer, you were gone. We didn't want that reputation of, because you hear that out there. There are no good deals in real estate. The real estate agents buy them all. That's a myth. That's a myth. Right? So that's what you do on those. When somebody hires you to sell, that's your job. Now, if somebody's for sale by owner, they're fair game. Their signs up there, they've got a price. You go in, hey, just to let you know, I'm a real estate agent, but I want to buy the house. I see you're asking 380. I'll give you 360 cash. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. When they put that FSBO sign out there, they're saying, I don't need your representation. Oh, there's a problem. If he files an ethics complaint, yeah, if he didn't know, because you have to put it on your contract. If you remember this from real estate school, if you're like that broker from Miami that questioned me about throwing the card on the counter, if I write a contract with her as the buyer and she's got a real estate license, I have to put in parentheses after her name, LREA. She's a licensed real estate agent. I have to disclose that to the seller. I have to disclose that. And if you're buying property, you have to do the same. Any questions on that? Next case study. Aren't these case studies fun? They're fun. Realtor A advertised on his website as follows: free market analysis with no obligation. And then just show the hand when you got it read. Okay. Yeah, let's put them thumbs down. We're sending everybody to jail today. The hearing panel noted that offering premiums or prizes as inducements, advertising, or anything described as free is not prohibited by the Code of Ethics. While Realtor A was free to advertise free market analysis with no obligation, such a representation was not a true picture if all the terms governing availability are not clearly disclosed in the ad or representation. The hearing panel noted that the statement by Realtor A, when he provided the free market analysis, it was presumed the property owner would list with Realtor A if the property was offered for sale, and the subsequent reminders by sales reps of Realtor A about the expectation made the representation less than a true picture. The panel concluded that Realtor A was in violation of Article 12. Probably one of those ones where they're just going to get a reprimand or nothing real big on that. Years ago, in fact, if you come to my real estate office out in Cocoa Beach, I'm walking distance to Coconuts. That's why you see me there so much. I don't really have much of a drinking problem. Anyway, I have this advertisement on my wall that I ran when I was younger, and it's a picture of my face on Superman's body flying through the air, and said, "Hire the super agent," and it had a little glimpse of things I've sold. And it said, "Free market analysis, free golf balls." We had a golf shop at the end of our building, free fishing spots, free lunch information, all this free stuff that I would give them if they came into the office. And I didn't have anybody say I did anything wrong, except I did get a cease and desist from DC Comics. Apparently you can't put your face on Superman's body, especially this face. So anyway, I did get in a little trouble from them, a letter of reprimand. All right, next case study. Realtor X, a residential broker, had recently listed a home. Benito. Is this the one with the open house? Is that what this one is? Okay, we know what. Off with the heads. The hearing panel described with the hearing panel disagreed with Realtor X's reasoning. They concluded that Realtor X's inducement of the buyer B by emphasizing that the property might sell quickly, which might have well been true, coupled with her offer to prepare a purchase contract on buyer B's behalf, constituted an initiation of dealings. Oh, sorry. Squirrel. On the property by Realtor X, not by buyer B. As a result, Realtor X was found in violation of Article 16. Okay, I'm teaching this class about a year and a half ago. This girl goes, oh my God, this happened to me. This just happened to me. I said, really? What do you mean? Tell us the story. She said, I had these folks that were my clients, customers, and they actually became my friends. And they were looking for a home in Baytree, and I'd been showing them homes in Baytree. They wanted to buy a home. They want to spend over $750,000, $800,000. They would like to have been on the golf course. A lake or pond would be okay. 4 bedrooms, like to have a pool. You know, she had all the criteria they wanted. She'd been showing them houses. They came up short on a couple, and she was going to go on a cruise. And she told them that she was going on a cruise, and she told her other clients and customers that she was going to go, and she was leaving Friday and she'd be back on Tuesday. And these folks said, oh man, enjoy yourself. Don't worry. We may go see a couple open houses, but we've got your cards. Don't worry about it. She goes, do you need any more? No, we got your cards. Don't worry about it. Enjoy yourself. She gets back from the cruise. She contacts her clients and texts these, because these people were, she knew they were ready to buy, because a house had come on the market and had gone contingent right away. And when she called them, the people informed her that they found a house and bought it. And they said they went to the open house, and when they told the broker that they were working with her, the broker that was holding the open house, or the agent that was holding the open house, said, well, if they're not with you, this house is going to sell this afternoon. You need to buy it through me. And she wrote up the contract and sold the house. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. I said, do you happen to use the Flex prospecting tool where you load them into, you know, what they want to buy? It's a great tool. Yeah, they got the information on the house from me. I said, okay, so they got the information on the house from you. She goes, yeah, I even think I had them loaded in to where I told them about the open house through Flex, which you can do that too. So you told them about the house when it hit the market through your MLS. You sent them the information on the open house. They went to the open house and told the agent broker there that they were working with you, and that other agent broker just completely disregarded that and said, you have to buy the house through me. She said, yeah. I said, well, why aren't you taking that to arbitration? She said, my broker told me to chalk it up as a lesson learned and you shouldn't take cruises. Wow. Now, I didn't tell her she should find another broker, but I did say, you know, I'm going to tell you this right now. Would those people come to a hearing or write a statement is that they walked into that house and handed that agent broker your card and she refused to accept that and told them that she had to buy the house through them? She goes, I believe they were friends. I said, well, why wouldn't you take it to arbitration? It's going to cost you, I mean, what did you get out of it? She goes, well, I got a nice card and a $50 gift certificate to Carrabba's. I said, well, what do you have to lose? You're talking about a $24,000 commission into your office. Take it to arbitration. Have your broker call me, because you've got a good case, provided you can get their statement and you can show that Flex sent them the listing and the open house. I'm telling you, you got a good case. About 4 months later, I found out she won. And the reason I know that is she sent me a real nice card with a $50 gift certificate to Carrabba's. But she won. Now, She didn't have a buyer's agreement with them, is what she should. Did she have a buyer's agreement for the floor? No, she didn't have a buyer's agreement, but that other agent should have respected that. If I'm holding an open house and somebody walks into my open house and I ask them if they're working with a realtor and they say, I'm working with Robin Turner from Happy House Homes. You know what? You're in good hands with Robin. Feel free to come in and take a look around. If this is something we're interested in, then get a hold of Robin. Have him write up an offer, because I've had some other people that were interested here. I don't tell anybody the truth. At my age, it's all I can remember. They said, well, Robin, we just found out that Robin's on a cruise. Well, dang, Robin's the broker. I'm thinking Pat Weeks is in your office, right? You know what? He's got a fellow agent named Pat Weeks. Do you have her number? She could probably write the offer up. They call me back. Pat Weeks happens to be out of town. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write up the offer, okay? I'm going to put a clause in there. It's actually your inspection clause. It'll be a 10-day right to inspect. Robin will be back. When Robin gets back, I'm going to put Robin on the contract as the buyer's agent, okay? And when Robin gets back, he can make sure my I's are dotted, my T's are crossed, and we'll just run this thing through him. That's what I would do. Because in the open house world, I'm hoping my people are doing that. That when they go to an open house without me, they're whipping my card out. I think that's cool. I like that. I like it when I'm having an open house and somebody says they're working with somebody and they hand me their card. I think it's great, because I hope that's what my people are doing. Any questions on that? The broker probably didn't have any, she probably didn't go into the fact of the flex and the other people, you know, they didn't go in, the broker didn't go in depth enough. You know, she was on a cruise, the people bought, in the broker's world, hey, it happens. You know, chalk it up to a lesson learned, right? Okay, the last case study, there's one more and I don't have it for some reason. It starts at the conclusion of a detailed listing presentation. Is that it? Okay, read that one. That's our final case study. Finito? Last one. Guilty. Guilty. Not so bad, but this is going to happen. Back in the days when Florida Today, the newspaper was this thick, we had a lawyer that was on the first page of the newspaper. His name was Robert Bruss, and Robert Bruss was the real estate attorney / real estate broker. And Robert Bruss gave the public advice. And Robert Bruss was good for realtors because when somebody wanted to sell their home, he said, find a knowledgeable agent that knows the market, that answers their phone, and is full-time. But when you go to interview them, interview at least 3. So around this time frame, it seemed like when you were going on a listing, you were always going up against, and you see it. I was at one the other day. A guy called me up and said, hey, you come recommended. I got a condo here in Jamaica Cove. We're interviewing brokers all day. We have the 11 o'clock and the 3 o'clock slot open. So they were talking to more than 3. But anytime I'm in that situation, and I know I'm up against other brokers, when I give my presentation, which is about my company, about me, about how we're going to market it, and then of course the pricing, which is important, and what they're going to net, which is really what all they're, what they're looking for. I always conclude my presentation with this, that look, it's smart of you to talk to other real estate brokers and agents. That's what you should be doing. I go, but before you sign with any other agent or broker, make sure you pick up the phone and call me and tell me why. And the only reason I say that is they may have told you something that you just thought was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I have it, I just didn't tell you about it. It might be a drone shot of your condominium. It might be an open house every 3 weeks or every other weekend, or something. It might be something that I have. So before you do, give me a call. And it just keeps that door open a crack to possibly get that listing. So that's okay to do. Now, what you're also going to get is you're going to be on one of those presentations, and you're going to get the phone call, and they're going to tell you that, hey, Steve, we appreciate you coming out and taking a look at our property. You seem very nice and very knowledgeable, but we're going to list with Robin Turner from Happy House Realty. You know what? Here's my response. You're in good hands with Robin. He's a good agent. I hope I can be the one to sell it. And I leave it at that. And that's all you have to leave it. Because once they've listed, if I see the hot sheet the next morning and they didn't call me and they've listed with somebody, communication is off with them. All communication from that point on is through the agent. Any questions on that? Any questions on anything today so far? Yes, question from the front row. You kind of lost me. You're the client. Agent A. Uh-huh. Oh. Well, I wouldn't let you do that, even though we've been best friends from college, because she brought you there. That's fine. Oh yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But if you did that to me, what I would say is, look, it's kind of uncomfortable. I'd like we just still remain friends because you have an agent. But if you truly want to work with me, right, you need to tell her that. You need to tell her that. Yeah, that I didn't realize that Steve was in real estate. We've been friends, for a long time. We just stayed out of touch. I want to work with him. You got to tell her that. I don't want to tell her that. And I don't want to find out, because you know what? You and I might only do one deal, but you could do deals. I mean, you and I might do one deal, but her and I got to work together for the next 20 years. We're going to do deals with each other. Okay. Any questions on anything else? Okay, we got a question for the middle. Yeah. Okay, the question from the floor is, if that agent signed a buyer brokerage agreement and now wants to work with you, the only way that can happen is if that buyer if that buyer's agent would be willing to cancel the agreement, to terminate the agreement. If there was no agreement signed, they want to work with me, then I still say the right thing to do is make sure you tell them that. You tell them that, okay? That it's not me stealing, taking you. You're doing it on your own. Oh. You could actually, that's true too. You could offer them a referral fee. Question in the back. Right? To have a roofing company down here. Okay, guy in the back's got a wife that owns a roofing company. Okay, okay. No, you can refer, you just let them know that it's your wife. That's the disclosure. You don't want a problem. The question is, can he refer his wife's roofing company? Absolutely you can, but let the person know it's your wife's roofing company. Because you don't want that to come back later. They have a problem with the roofing company. They didn't realize it was your wife's and they got a problem. Now there's an issue because you didn't disclose that. Yeah. If they're your customers or clients that you're working with, yes. Yes, yes. Any other questions? Okay, we're being recorded today, right? So we can't leave early. I'm not even supposed to say that, I don't think. All right. So I come back in the afternoon and I do 30 minutes on your first 30 days. So that's what I'm gonna do now for you. You're gonna get that free. I normally charge for this. Also, you guys are brand new, so most of you. If you see something that doesn't look right or hear something that doesn't sound right, pop me an email. I read my emails at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then I go for my beach walk and look at the sunrise, and then I start my day. So pop me an email. Here's my email address, so you have it. Remember, I have a very fragile personality. King of Cocoa Beach at AOL.com. Good old AOL. I got mail. Hey, King of Cocoa Beach. Oh, he's got a smart one in the crowd. Yes. Yeah, those are our case studies we did. Yes, sir. Yeah. Anything you can have in writing is going to help your case later down the road. Absolutely. Keep it in writing. The Realtors Code of Ethics protects the buying and selling public, promotes a competitive real estate marketplace, enhances the integrity of the industry. It's our promise of performance and our promise of professionalism. And that's our Realtor logo that we use. Okay, somebody, was it you that said you just started and you want some tips to get started? Advice? It was you. The best advice I can give, have fun, is the best advice I can give you. Have fun, because it's a fun business. It really is. And the really cool thing is you meet people from all over the world. You meet super interesting people. I was lucky when I got started. Probably the 4th or 5th property I sold was a condominium in Stonewood to a guy named Eric Ramsey. Anybody in here from Long Island? There's usually, wow. Anybody from Bayshore? Bayshore. Now, Eric's since passed, been a while, but Eric was the #1 independent real estate broker in Bayshore, New York. And Eric was a really cool guy. And I would go pick him up at the airport when he came in to use his condo, because when we went to play golf, Eric would pick up the green fees. We'd go to dinner at Gregory's next door with him and his wife when she would come down. Sometimes he'd come on his own, and he always picked up the tab. Eric had money. I was a struggling real estate agent. And I remember we went to Gregory's one night and the girl came over to wait on us. And she said her name and he introduced himself and he introduced me. And after we got one round of drinks, he said to her, he said, Helen, are you looking to buy or sell any real estate around here? And she says, my boyfriend and I are actually saving money to eventually buy a condo. And Eric's kicking me under the table. Well, this is Steve Romano. He's the best real estate agent in Cocoa Beach, where I just started. I was far from the best real estate agent in Cocoa Beach. I wasn't even smart enough to hand this girl a card who said she's going to be buying something. Eric's, Steve, give her a card. Give her a card. Okay, out comes the card. So Eric taught me that you meet people and you hand out cards. I learned that right away. The next time we went to dinner, Helen waited on us again. And it was a little different this time. I could swear Eric was a good-looking older guy. He had those Paul Newman blue eyes. He was in good shape for an older guy. And man, it seemed like Helen and Eric were having a pretty good banter there, So when Eric went to the bathroom and Helen came back to the table, I said, if I didn't know any better, I'd think you were flirting with my buddy Eric. And she said, Steve, he wrote the nicest handwritten note to the owners of Gregory saying what an asset I was to this restaurant. So without telling me, Eric showed me the power of a handwritten note. Anybody got in a handwritten note recently from somebody? Aren't they nice to get? Aren't they? I mean, they beat the hell out of texts and emails. A nice little handwritten note when you meet somebody. Like I said, I don't care. I remember when the internet came up. And I remember all my buddies saying, you're going to end up just like the travel agent. The internet's going to bury your business. And I thought to myself, no, not what I learned from Eric. This business is about people and property. Meet as many people as you can, see as much property as you can. Eric said, when the hot sheet, you guys have a hot sheet? Yeah, we have a hot sheet. He goes, you get to know Cocoa Beach. He goes, when the hot sheet comes on, and let's say Joe Smith from Coldwell Banker lists a house, you contact Joe and you congratulate him on getting that listing and tell him that you've got a buyer for it. You want to go preview it. Well, what if I don't have a buyer? Yes, you have a buyer. You always have a buyer for everything. So you go preview the house. You might meet a neighbor next door to let them know what the price is. You might drive by a for sale by owner, so you can call them. But he'd say, take the MLS sheet, and when you see the property, write on the back of it, good buy, bad buy, great buy, whatever. And then price where you think it should sell at, and how long do you think it's going to take? And then when it happens, see how good you are. In the meantime, you're going out and you're seeing property. You're learning that $125 a square foot for an oceanfront condominium is a great buy. Right now, I think it's running at $400. But get to know that kind of stuff. So Eric taught me that kind of stuff. He said, Steve, you're never going to be a good real estate agent, a great real estate agent, unless you have a decent amount of marketable listing inventory and a constant pool of buying prospects. Now, some people can say a decent amount of listing inventory is 3 to 6 listings. That's fine. In my heyday, it used to be 12. I needed 12. If I didn't have 12, I had to go get another one. I got dropped to 11, I had to go get 12. Because as they would sell, I'd have to replenish them. And then my buyer prospects would get a call all the time. You check that hot sheet. You check the hot sheet, you might see a house come up on a street that you sold 3 or 4 years ago. Pick up the phone and call that person from 3 or 4 years ago. You haven't talked to them in a couple of years. They want to hear from you because they enjoyed that transaction with you. Just touch base with them. You never know when they've got somebody, or you never know the situation with them. Funny you called. We're thinking of selling in about 2 months. Stay in touch with those people. So Eric taught me that, and he said, you got to have 3 knowledges to be a great real estate agent. The first one, Steve, you've already showed me. I know that we have 72 miles of beautiful beach in Brevard County. I know when the next rocket launch is. I send everybody I meet, whether it's at Coconuts or anybody I talk to, they're looking for stuff to do. I send them to the Lone Cabbage Fish Camp to take an airboat ride and see the alligators. I know where the best Italian restaurant is. I know the fun things to do, the paddle boarders and all that kind of stuff. That's local knowledge. That's easy. We all have that. The next one's contract knowledge. Know the contract from top to bottom. They have contract classes over here with lawyers and brokers. Come to them. Take advantage of what this association does for you. I used to tell my new agents when they came to work for me, here's the exclusive right of sale agreement we use. Here's the contract for sale and purchase that we use. Take them home, read them top to bottom, highlight what you do not understand. I don't care if you bring it back to me on yellow construction paper. We'll go through it and we'll get through it. Because you got to know what to protect your clients with. You got to know where to look in that contract. You got to make sure the inspection period's a reasonable inspection period. You got to look when they write clauses. Used to get this one all the time. Seller to pay 3% of buyer's closing cost. What the agent means is he wants 3% paid from the purchase price, but he didn't write it that way. If his closing costs are $3,000, my seller's only got to pay 3% of that. Let the other agent know. We work together. Hey, the way you worded that, I don't think you mean what you mean there. Because you don't want that to blow up on him at the end either. So know what to put in those contracts. So now we've got local knowledge and we've got contract knowledge. The third one is the gold, market knowledge. Market knowledge. Person could walk into my office when I was at the prime of selling real estate and say, I'm looking for a canal front home in Cocoa Beach. There's 22 of them on the market right now. The average price per square foot is $275. The lowest one is $285. The highest one is $695 because you got a view of the Thousand Islands. Like that. So I like to think that Port to Patrick is my specialty because I check the hot sheet every day and I try to go and see as many listings as I can. When I have a broker's open house, Robin's always there. When he has one, I try to reciprocate and go and see him. Go see as many properties as you can. Go out and see open houses. Hold open houses for other agents in your office. They don't want to do it. A lot of times, these big-time real estate agents, they got all the listings. They can't hold open houses in every listing they have. Hold an open house in their listing and get some buyers that way. Get out there, and when you see a garage sale, turn a $5 lamp into another customer or client. That sort of stuff. And keep meeting people and keep seeing property. That's the key. That's the key. And have those three knowledges. It is a super cool business. I have sold property or sold their property for, let me try to remember this. CEOs of companies are very interesting people. Lotto winners, sold a lotto winner, condo, astronaut, a Playboy bunny, one of my favorites, pro athletes, wrestlers. We sold George the Animal Steel his condo in Xanadu, and then he referred Hacksaw Jim Dugan, who bought a house in Titusville from us. We were the realtors to the wrestlers there for a while. But I'll tell you, my best client actually really wasn't much of a client. One of the best people I ever met in real estate is I got a call from this guy. He was from the Northeast. And I think he thought I was from the Northeast too, because I talk a little fast and loud. And he wanted to sell his father-in-law's place in Merritt Towers, over in Merritt Island next to the mall. And so we were going to meet on Saturday. They were going to fly down. So I got my market analysis, got my information, and I went over to meet him. Well, when I met him and walked in the condo, there was a little old guy sitting in a chair just looking out at the water. And that was the father-in-law. And I walked over and introduced myself. And like the greatest generation, he didn't want to, but he shook my hand and he introduced himself. George Bragg. And so I went into the master bedroom with the people. We were looking at the master bedroom. And in the master bedroom, how many people are in the military here? Military or family? Thank you for your service. There was a knife on the wall. And on the knife, there was this German insignia. And I walked back out over to George. I said, man, that's a heck of a weapon you got hanging up there in your office, that knife. Where'd you get it? He said, well, I was the highest ranking officer in the battle right outside of Antwerp in Belgium. And when we defeated the Germans, the highest ranking German officer surrendered that knife to me. And I thanked him for his service. I said, you're an American hero, badass, right? So when I went back to the office, we signed the listing. They were going to put him in Courtney Springs, the assisted living center, right on the other side of the mall. So when I got back to the office, I wrote him a handwritten note, George, of what an honor it was to meet him. I said, if you ever want to get out of Courtney Springs for the day, go play some cards, go down to the track, anything, please feel free to give me a call. And I sent him my card. About 2 weeks later, I get a phone call. Hey, Steve, this is George Brang. I said, hey, George, what's going on? He said, is there any way I could is the condo sold? I said, no, it hasn't sold yet. He said, is there any way I could go back there and just look at the river for a little while? I really miss that place. And I said, George, absolutely. I can be over there in about 15, 20 minutes. I go, what room are you in? He said, I'm not in their room. He goes, I escaped that place. I'm in the mall. He was in the mall calling me from a payphone. Badass, this guy. I said, George, go to Ruby Tuesdays. Put a couple beers on my tab. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I go to Ruby Tuesdays. There he is, having a beer for me. We had a beer. We went to the condo. Let him in. He went right over his chair and he goes, man, I miss this place so much. I walked outside, called the son-in-law in his office. I said, you're not going to believe this. George escaped from Courtney Springs. He's at the condo now looking out at the river. He goes, leave that son of a bitch there. He's driving us crazy. He's driving everybody at Courtney Springs crazy. Just let him stay in the condo. I walked back in. I said, George, I got some good news. You get to stay here. You get to stay here. I'm tearing up the listing. Guy was so happy. So happy. Never ever made the sale till later down the road. But those are the kind of people you meet. Everybody's got a story. Listen to them. Listen to them, especially the older folks, right? So that's the best advice I can give you. Have a great day. All right. See you in the Zoom room.
Thank you.
See you on the recording. Okay, you guys.